Welcome back to another episode of Selective Ignorance, the space where we question what we've been taught to ignore. And today we're talking about the swing of the pendulum, and not just any pendulum, but the one that defines the boundaries of women's autonomy, sexuality, and public power. If y'all know me and y'all know my platform, it's something I've stood for a long time. And the conversation today may shock some of you on where I stand with where we are at. Remember the first fire of the Me Too movement? Remember the boldness of the slut walk, the raw sexual liberation in the lyrics of Cardi and Meg with WAP and so many other women in hip hop who made us feel seen, not for the male gaze, but for ourselves? It felt like we were getting somewhere, that we were finally rewriting our narrative, that women could be sexual, powerful, free, and not have to pay for it with silence, shame, or survival. But here's the uncomfortable truth. The pendulum has swung back, and that's my take, but I'm joined by someone to help me out here, okay? It's been a hard swing. We've watched Roe v. Wade fall, decades of bodily autonomy reversed in a single legal blow, women forced to navigate pregnancies under laws made by men who will never carry them. We watched Diddy walk, and not in shame, not in accountability, but in a world more invested in protecting his legacy than listening to survivors. We still don't have the Epstein client list either, because the system protects perpetrators, not the prey. So the question is, can a woman feel truly sexually liberated in a world that still refuses to see her as a victim when harm is done? Where owning your body is somehow still an invitation for violence, judgment, or dismissal? The patriarchy didn't just push back, it snatched the mic and started rewriting the verses that we out here trying to make for ourselves. What we called liberation, they reframed as excess. What we called power, they painted as a threat. So is sexual freedom real if it's always up for negotiation? Let's talk about it, and by that I mean all of it. The illusion of progress, the weaponization of empowerment, and what it means to seek liberation in a world that punishes you for it. This is Selective Ignorance, and we're not letting this pendulum swing without calling it what it is. And y'all doing that this week with me, as always, my super producers, Jason and A. King, are on the mics. Y'all might not hear them too much this episode, but you know, we still like to have men. we like to have men in the room during these conversations. So I do implore you to speak up for men during this conversation, because I don't want people to feel like we're here just to bash them.
All men?
Here's the thing with the internet.
According to the episode you did with Carla and Ray.
Here's the thing with the internet. Whenever we're speaking to things, none of us know all of anything. I don't know all men. I don't know all women. I am only here to speak for my experience. And my guest is doing the same thing. Today, I am joined by Ashley Cobb, who is an award-winning sexual health expert who hosts the Sex with Ashley podcast and is working on a book for release next year called Pleasure Please. She also was on an episode of Horrible Decisions where, we talked about all things. BDSM contracts. And if you want to listen to that, you can go over to the Horrible Decisions Patreon. But really excited to have you on. It's funny because it's one of those where I truly believe out of sight, out of mind. And I just ran into you at Essence Fest.
Right.
We were at the Black Women's Health Imperative booth where we got to hand out signed copies of my New York Times bestselling book, No Holds Barred. Shout out to Gilead Sciences, who sponsored those books for everybody. And it's just always good seeing you in those spaces. Did you enjoy your time? The internet has been loud about their thoughts on Essence Fest, but did you enjoy your time? What kind of conversations were you having that weekend? Have you been before? Like, you know.
I've been going to Essence before working for Essence.
Okay.
Before COVID.
Okay.
So I've been going pre-COVID to my friends from college.
Period.
And have a good time. So this was my second year actually working, getting booked by Essence. So this year I was the host of one of their panels, well, not panels, on the stage, one of their talks.
Okay.
So I hosted it was Essence After Dark.
I know that's right.
But it was in the daytime.
Not it was in the daytime.
It was in the daytime. But me and they had a sex therapist on stage, so I asked her questions, and then she got to answer questions from the audience. So it was a really cool little panel.
I love that. This was my first year there, and I worked the whole
Yes.
goddamn time.
Yes. So I will say this. So last year when I did Essence every day.
Okay.
All 3 days.
Okay.
And it was from 1 to like 4. And then, so I was in the convention center all day because I also contract with Black Women Health Imperative.
Okay.
And so when I'm not on the Essence stage, I'm with them.
Okay.
So I am working. So I don't get to do like the traveler, the fan
Right.
thing. I'm there as a worker.
Okay.
And so it's a very different experience when you're working Essence and then when you're going to Essence as a lay member.
So I may have to go back in 30 years when I'm the age demo.
Okay.
Well,
Weezy.
not calling me Weezy now.
I'm
Look,
sorry,
look, we talking about what it is, child. What's crazy is I ended up getting able to party and have a good time.
Okay.
I also love that they're having the talks around sex in this space.
Okay.
Because it's still very much like still not being had.
Right.
And I guess I'll start with what the weekend kind of meant for me, and we'll get into even where I'm at with this topic as a whole, right?
Okay.
So this was our like first time really being invited to Essence.
Okay.
In the 8 years that we were doing even horrible decisions.
Okay.
We were invited maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
The offer was basically like, here's some pennies, but we would have had to pretty much pay to be a part of it. We would have had to come out of pocket to be a part of the weekend. And at the time, that just didn't make sense, right? So this was our first time being a part of Essence on a large major scale. The day before getting there, it was brought to us that we were New York Times bestsellers.
Okay.
So literally the night before I leave out, I'm getting the announcement from my publisher. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I was on such a high because I'm like, whoa, New York Times bestseller. That's the best, like, that's the highest accolade that you could have as an author, right? Like, the way an artist gets a Grammy, the way actors get Emmys and Tonys, like, this is the pinnacle of being an author. And so I get to celebrate it. We finally are going to Essence Fest, which we were like, oh, we made it. And we get there, and there's a few companies we are attached to during the weekend. And as I'm checking into my hotel, I'm told that one of the companies apparently did their due diligence. Mind you, the day that I'm there.
Right.
Less than 24 hours after being New York Times bestselling authors for our book, No Holds Barred, we are told that the company wants nothing to do with our brand, that we do not align, that our brand is not brand safe. Mind you, we are 7 months into our rebrand. The book and what we actually stand for is empowering for women. And so literally did not get to feel the triumph or celebrate having this new title that I thought would stamp me as official, essentially. You know what I mean? And it was just even more heartbreaking because it's like, okay, I'm at this festival that celebrates Black women, but on the other foot, a sexually liberated Black woman is where we draw the line. And so I brought this to therapy, and I've just been feeling really defeated lately. Like in terms of my branding, my messaging, what I want to put out into the universe. Because when I meet my fans, when I go on tour, when I'm at booths signing the books, the response from the women on the ground are that, oh my God, this is transformative. You've saved my life. At Essence, it was so dope to meet women in their 50s and 60s. Like, ooh, I wish I had this when I was younger. Thank you. There were so many thank yous that it becomes unfortunate that the louder voice, the bigger voice, and let's get into it. I'm not even talking about white men here. I'm not even talking about men as a whole. in other instances, and I've shared it on my other pod, I may have shared it here, I've had to fight Black women within the space to feel respected or seen, because Black women also don't want to allow other Black women to be liberated.
Right.
And it's strange for me. And so I'm not going to start off this pod bashing Black women, I promise, but I do want to open the floor to letting the audience know, like, this isn't just a patriarch versus the matriarch. This isn't just a man versus woman battle. It's like overall society and where we exist as people. And so pre-production, I was talking to Ashley and she was like, oh yeah, girl. Oh, you just found out. Black women are my biggest haters. And so where is it, or what is the tug of war between us wanting to find the freedom in existing while also trying to make other women not feel so, like, do they feel attacked with our liberation? Do they feel like we're taking them a few steps back by being liberated? What are the conversations you've been having, and what is the response from your type of content too?
So before I get to that, right? So I have a question. So the brand who brought you in, right?
Yes.
What did they think you did? You did.
Decisions is still a, and mind you, we don't say it's a sex pod, but it's a dating and relationship pod. Bitch, when you date and you relate, you sex, okay? I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Because when you type in your name, it pops up.
And horrible decisions is still very much a part of our brand. It's still there. Mandii and Weezy are horrible decisions, right? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know.
Okay.
Mind you, a part of the rebrand was to be able to step in more spaces and kind of amplify our voices, essentially. Because I get it. Not everyone wants to call themselves a whore.
Right.
Everyone has sex, but not everyone wants to be labeled into those type of stigmas. But yeah.
And so I will say this. So Essence is very, as Mandii has said, Essence is for the 35 and older aunties, my direction of people. And so it is very conservative. Very much so. I think Black women in whole are conservative in general. Even ones who are fucking are conservative or conservative adjacent.
Okay.
Like, and particularly Essence is also, well, the magazine this from New York, but the festival's in the South. So you have women in the South.
The Bible Belt.
Bible Belt. Like, we talk about sex, but we don't talk about it out loud. It's the thing that we do hush hush. So like, even with them, even with me working with them for the last 2 years, it's still very, the content that we do is very PG content.
But outside of saying, hey, wear a condom or be abstinent, what does PG sex content look like? Like for me, from a liberating side. So is it always un-PG to advocate a woman to have sex for her pleasure or get her orgasm and not be doing it just to get a certain attention from the male gaze or to reproduce? Like outside of reproduction, I think that's my problem.
Right.
Sexual liberation is really about having your own autonomy and being able to say yes or no, or being able to advocate for yourself as a woman in the bedroom.
Right.
And so for sexual liberation to have such a goddamn negative, bad, off the wall, non-conservative stigma is crazy, because you're advocating for yourself.
And I think so, like for me personally, like professionally, I think, well, let's talk about this past Essence. So for me, they put me on the stage as the host, and they had a sex therapist at first who answered the question, which was totally fine with me. Like, she was very clinical. She was very professional.
Okay.
She was very, I cuss in real life, right? I say
bitch, me too. Look, I just said bitch, me too.
Right. I say pussy. I say fuck. Right. So I have to be very cognizant of that when I'm in different spaces. And so, like, getting me to do the whole stuff that works, because I might say an answer that it might not be on brand for them. So they paired me with someone who was very much on brand. And so it kind of worked. For me, I am just, and maybe this is me taking the scraps, but I am just happy that they actually have, and they're allowing kind of sex conversations to be taking place. And yes, so it's not on the main Essence stage, which one day I hope that one day it gets there. So it's on the little stages all throughout the room. But I'm just happy that they're at least having the conversations and that people are at least walking away with something. I guess that's the something's better than nothing kind of mentality.
The crumbs.
Yeah.
Let us just as Black
We got
women
a baby
continue
step, though.
receiving
The
crumbs.
right?
I think you even saying the baby step. That's why I want to get into this conversation. But before we do, y'all know I introduced a new segment. It's called Double Down or Take It Back. And I recently sat with Shan Boudram about what sexual liberation kind of looks like to me, or what I thought it looked like, and how that shifted. And boy, were the comments commenting.
Okay.
So I want you to listen to my take on the Lovers Podcast with Shan Booty and hear your kind of thoughts on what I had to say.
About that, because you always hear the story of the woman who was sexually liberated, did her thing, had her hoe phase, enjoyed it, who then finds a partner, finds God, finds insert here, and now is like, if I could give advice to younger women, it would be don't. Respect yourself, love yourself.
I don't think that that's the advice I would give. I'll be honest with you too. Like, even with the rebrand, right? And I think as a woman seeking her own sexual liberation, and what it really means is freedom and power to remove yourself from all stigmas and all labels that patriarchy has wanted to give us, right? However, to feel free and to feel powerful and to be able to express to a man no, and to say, actually, this is how I receive pleasure. If you can't do that, I'm fine. Me not changing myself to appease a man or to be more likely for him to select me. That's power. That's liberation. I want to lean into kind of what the comments and why that seemed like outrage. They pretty much insinuated, because comprehension skills are lacked amongst us, they pretty much insinuated that any woman who's gone through a hoe phase, you reach this point when you're not chosen, when you're not married. So they pretty much slut shamed me in my comments for saying what this is. More times than not, apparently, I doubled down on my takes. But that was literally, I still stand in that. I think sexual liberation for me at one point did look like just being able to fuck without care. And that has now shifted to me viewing liberation as having sex because I want it, not to make someone like me more. Having sex because I know what works for my body, and I'm going to make sure he's doing exactly what I want to please me. So the fact that there's this negative connotation around the word now bothers me, because sexual liberation did look like free, hoe phase, like, what is it? A free spirit? You know what I mean? And so I wanted to know your thoughts on that clip, and if your mindset has changed, or if the way you talk about sexual liberation is different than it once was for any reason.
So yes, I think as you change, your viewpoint as you age, your viewpoint just changes on different things.
Period.
So like you, when I was 20, and I was just fucking just to fuck, right? Because I want to, like,
but did you want to?
So yes and no.
Okay.
So in my younger 20s, so I was having sex because I thought this is what I needed to do for a guy to like me.
Yep.
As I got towards late 20s, I was doing because, I like doing this, right? And so, and I was just, just outside. And to be honest, last summer I was also outside.
She said, actually,
and so
this
I'm
was
still
recent.
outside,
right?
It changes. I'm not as outside. It's just different. Like, so now as someone who is 40, so somebody told me, what advice would you give a girl? And I was a young woman, kind of similar to what Shan asked you, and I told her, hoe longer. Hoe longer is my advice, and I'm gonna tell you why I said that.
I need to know why.
Because so I don't feel in this maybe this is the feminist in me.
Okay.
Maybe I don't feel like women should be trying to get married in their 20s. Like, you should be doing that 30.
Get married in your 30s. So you would recommend that someone hoes throughout their entire 20s into their 30s.
That's just my advice.
Okay.
That's just what I think, and you can take it or leave it.
And what does a woman get for hoeing longer?
So one, you get to learn what you like sexually. You learn a lot about men by hoeing too. I feel like you get to learn how men operate, how they think, how they deal with other people, how they deal with you. I feel.
Because when you a hoe, they honest. They letting you know how they treating all the other women too.
Yeah, and you get to know how men operate. Because if you're just someone who's been like, I've been in one relationship for, say I was dating my high school sweetheart. I also don't believe you should marry the first guy you date in high school. You know, shout out to my mama. I just don't believe you should.
I ain't gonna hold you. The way I'm about to clip up everything you're saying, I can't wait for the internet to hear this.
Like, I just don't believe that from what I've seen in the older generation, right? Our parents' generation, they're the ones who got married young.
They seem lost.
Yeah, got a high school sweetheart, only man you've been with, right? And so you don't know how, you have no idea how the other options out there. You have no idea that there's better sex, there's better men who treat you right.
Girl, it gets longer, it gets girthier.
Yeah,
hey.
Like just on a relationship standpoint outside of sex, it's just better because you don't know that because you only been with one guy or you only had two relationships in your life. So you have guy A, guy B, and that's it, right? So I think when you hoe longer, and hoeing doesn't necessarily mean that you just fucking any and everybody. So let me say that too. I think hoeing in terms of what I mean is that you are centering yourself first, and you're not centering men.
I think though that's hard. The fact that both of us can acknowledge though that in our 20s we were very ignorant in our sexual prowess and exploration, actually leaning more towards doing it for them and not for ourselves at all. So to me, if there's a suggestion for anybody to hoe longer or be within their hoe phase, there has to be conversations earlier about what that really entails.
Right.
And unfortunately, again, the conversations just aren't being had.
Right. And there's also, so with every action there is reaction and consequences, right? So there's rules within hoeing, like, you know,
wear a condom. Don't let that nigga bust you out the gate.
Don't have babies by every man you fucking, right? You know,
Kiki Wyatt would say different.
You know,
she stayed pregnant,
she
boy.
stayed pregnant.
God damn.
You know, she loved being pregnant.
She love it.
You know,
I'm starting to think Rihanna do too.
Yeah.
She been pregnant every year. She said y'all ain't never get music ever.
Never get the album.
Never.
But like, you know, it's frowned upon, you know, to fuck homies in the same, you know, circle if you want to be with one seriously. Like it's just certain rules and things. Now, I'm not saying don't do it, but if you doing it, just know that, you know, probably.
Oh yeah, no, that was my problem.
Yeah,
I was dealing with this guy. So before I started dealing with him, I fucked the homie.
Okay.
Mandii, she fucked the homie.
We all fucked the
y'all
homie.
Y'all remember that Ray J song. Anyways, so I only had sex with this guy once, and it was terrible. So I was never going back. Ended up meeting a guy who was actually friends with his brother, but was still in the circle, right? Ended up dealing with him for a few years, and it got to where there became an emotional connection between us. And when I tell you the literal thing that was like, I can't get over this mentally, and I'm gonna tell you, he said, if I marry you, that is one of my friends that will be invited to my wedding. And I don't know how I can handle the emotional, mental gymnastics of being at a wedding knowing you fucked my homeboy.
Men care about what their friends think.
Oh,
so
they do. Look, not the nodding of the heads. Why do y'all care so much about because here's the thing, right?
You want to go further?
No. I just want to say, because as a woman, if I dealt with a guy physically and it just wasn't good and I could care less about him, my friend could go marry him and I wouldn't give a goddamn.
No.
My wife dated my homeboy before me.
Oh,
they had sex.
Yeah.
They had sex or dated?
They both of them.
Is that still your homeboy?
Yeah, is that
still my man? It's still my man. And you know what the funny thing is?
Wait, how did you get past that?
Yeah.
I'm the one who I jumped in the line, right? Like they were messing around. I cut the line, so I was a dirty dude. I was a dirty dude there. But then he sold us out. He sold us out at Greenhouse, and then
Greenhouse.
Oh, dating.
Yeah, but then I approached him. And I talked about like what his friendship meant to me, and
it didn't mean much if you out here fucking his girl.
Well, but it wasn't his girl. They were dating. That's why I said they were dating. They were dating and fucking. It wasn't his girl, right? But still, he didn't. But it's because of the thing that we're saying. He didn't like it, right? Like he didn't like it I stepped to him. I was like, yo, like that's that I didn't want to act upon like something that doesn't agree with our friendship.
But how did you get past? Look, I think you about to ask. How did you get past though? Actually wanting to.
I mean, I don't care.
Okay.
I honestly didn't care. And then the funny thing is like I knew that they liked each other as like humans, but it's like when you're young and dating and it's like chaotic, and so it's like we got married, and if
was
I
he at the wedding?
At the crib? No, he was. I had a small wedding where like there was like 4 people, but he came to the crib like 2 summers ago when I had a big barbecue. And they're talking, and I know that they like each other. And it's like they both work in the business. So like when I see them around each other and they talk, I know that there's a genuine feeling there that they have for one another. That's fine, right? Like if she were to leave me for him, it's because of me, not because of him, right?
Oh,
so it's like,
you are so mature.
There's things that so there's
By the way, A King is over there like fuck everything this nigga saying.
No, I have questions.
I can feel that with people thinking that and doing that, and I get the general man stance of like, nah, fuck that, I can't do that. I just think it has to do with so much that's not you and so much that's like internally you that people waste their time and energy on it.
When you said they were dating, how were you aware of that? Like,
I saw my greenhouse.
Were you probing questions like quietly, and then you just was like, oh,
no, okay, I think I knew, like, I think she was open with like she was dating people. I was definitely fucking like a bunch of different people, so it's like she knew, and like I could see them out together. She would see me out with like another chick. It was like it was that kind of like the messy a messy circle of like non-committed people.
I'm not gonna lie, you just gave me hope.
And so I love the fact that he is, because a lot of men are into like ownership. So God forbid, like who is something going viral now about some celebrity girl she's dating. I think it's Megan.
Megan dating Klay Thompson.
Yeah, and so people are saying, "Oh my God, she get passed around. She's dating."
Yeah,
she's dating. She's had to be a public figure, so we know who she's dating. But like,
I ain't gonna hold you.
Dating.
It's a little much to post every nigga you fucking online.
Now I don't post no nigga.
Like you could be sexually liberated, but goddamn, I don't want to see everybody that's inside of you. Like,
I agree. I don't. my rule of thumb is, once I get married, then I'll post him. But I change.
Period.
Like the season, but no one knows that but my friends.
My only issue with what you said before is that me personally, knowing how I am behind closed doors with said person and how sexually liberating that's the title, how I am, I couldn't imagine another dude being a dog.
Oh my God.
Like just because we all, that's just me.
Nigga, you're not the first, you're not the last.
That,
but or you know what? I'm gonna add a part 2.
But the mental gymnastics that you referenced before, is like
if you like how I'm sucking your dick, best believe I'd have sucked another dick that way. God damn.
Yes.
I know, but not.
I learned it from somebody.
No, but not my man's though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so look.
Now, unless I'm in Jason's point of view, where
you sneaking in being a dirty dog?
I skip the line and it don't matter. But I don't. If I'm being skipped.
But I think too. So like that same barbecue that I'm talking about, where like my homeboy came over and he used to date my wife. My ex was also there.
Okay.
My other homeboy was dating her.
Jason, just say you poly. We gotta have another conversation.
Hold on.
You poly, nigga.
When's the next barbecue? I just want to be a fly on the wall.
Come through.
Hey, yo, if any of y'all attend a barbecue at Jason's house, just know him or his wife may or may not have fucked the other attendees.
Everybody there.
My point to Ashley was saying, like, he called me, right? He called me, was like, yo, I'm gonna bring my new girl. I'm like, yeah, come through. And he tells me who it is. And I knew he was trying to have like the ownership conversation, and I'm like, dude, like I've been married to my wife for 6 years.
Wait, this is a bitch you smashed before?
Yes, this is girl, right?
We're not doing this.
But my point is, he was trying to have like the ownership conversation of like, is it okay if I bring her over? And I'm like, dude, like we haven't dated in so long, right? So it's like that idea of like the ownership thing, like just because I dated her in the past, like there's this whole chain of women that are off limits because of like some like quasi ownership thing.
I ain't gonna lie, it's giving you had a hell of a whole phase, Jason.
Really? So like,
but I dated. It's a certain point.
That's what we be saying. But that's what women say. We're dating and we get shamed for being outside dating.
So for example, so like back to Jason, situation. So
I don't think it's a situation. It's
Oh,
just
okay. Scenario.
Yeah.
Scenario.
Scenario. There you go.
There we go. So like, there was this dude I was dating when I first moved to Atlanta that I knew from back home, right? He was a part of a Greek organization
Now, why would you ever do that? No, I'm just playing. Them must be a little. Wait, which Greek organization?
say.
Okay, all right.
You can't say. It'll be too easy to figure out.
I mean, anybody who knows it know me, know they I know who it is.
Okay.
That knows me know him. But so he was a part of an organization from back home, right? And so in that organization, I had sex with a few people.
Okay.
From that organization
A
over
few.
the years.
Okay.
It wasn't like it was all college. It was some college, a lot after.
Met this nigga at the bar. Met niggas at a lounge.
They just so happen to
be
part
all
of
in the
that
same organization.
Yeah, like I'm 40, right?
Right.
I
don't live
How
life.
many on the same? How many on the same line though?
So I never done the same line. So I don't do lines, right? So I'll do 04, 05, 06, 03, right? 02.
There we go.
But none of them are LBs. None of them are
Okay.
like brothers.
Right,
Okay.
right,
Classy.
right, right.
Classy.
Yeah.
Got you.
See, you know,
Very
classy.
classy.
Bitch. My mama raised
I like
me,
the
right?
distinction.
You know, my mama raised me, right? I'm a classy bitch. So we had a conversation, and I was talking to him, and I was like, oh yeah, you know, blah blah blah. You know, I used to date blah blah blah. You know, several years ago. He was like, oh. I was like, yeah. And you know, and then I was like, and there was, you know.
Another one a couple of years before that.
So I didn't even get to tell him the rest of them because just our conversation, I could tell like he was like, it was a no. And I remember it was this whole thing with he and I one time, and it was a thing where like people realized that he and I were kind of like a thing at the moment, and it was a whole thing, and he could not get past the fact that I had these
prior experiences
with
before
other
him.
people that he knew. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, I get it. I understand how men think, so I get it. But I think it's very stupid.
It's so crazy because women, on the other hand, you could have fucked 3 of my homegirls in the past. Like, we'll talk about it. Normally, it'll be like we don't have that ownership on niggas because maybe we expect them to be community.
That's what it is.
You know what I mean? I think there's an expectation for men to be able to be liberated in their sexual exploration and prowess. And for whatever reason, we're not granted that same, I don't want to bring grace to the cookout, but we're not granted the grace to explore and find ourselves in the same way that they do. Like, Jason probably doesn't end up with his wife if he's not outside fucking on all of his homeboys' girls. Apparently, you know what I mean? So it sucks because we don't get to fuck on all your homeboys to figure out what we like in life.
It's a small world. Like, even when I moved to Atlanta 5 years ago.
Okay.
And so I had a friend here who's been here longer. She's a female friend, and she was dating in Atlanta. I met one of her exes on a dating app. I didn't know it was her ex though. So like, so after I went out with him, you know, we had sex or whatever. And then I told her about it after the fact. And she was like, girl, I know him. And I was like, oh, really?
Oh, really? Well, me too now.
You know, you know? And so, like, and she was like, no, this is what she said. I was like, well, do you feel away? You know, because, like, we're cool. We're really friends. And she's like, well, no, I think you guys are better fit. Because I'm into, like, alternative lifestyles and open and poly and all that stuff. And so she is not. She's very traditional. And that was part of their issue. And she was like, I think y'all are a good fit. Like,
it's funny because I think that we're in the space now in terms of sexual liberation, that the relationship dynamics are also drawing the line between us as not only a community, but within women and how we either hold ourselves accountable for ways. Because mind you, I have maybe 2 or 3 friends refuses to identify as poly or open, but have cheated on all of their partners. And so, mind you, but all hell breaks loose if their partners cheat. But they've also stated this. Yes, yes. So it's just been interesting on how we as even friend groups hold each other to certain standards in question, while also wanting to empower each other in, bitch, I know that's right. Bitch, go outside. You know what I mean? There's like just this line that can be drawn. I do want to get into some things that have pushed us to have more of these conversations from a cultural state. So we're going to be down for some ignorance real quick. In men also currently not being held accountable, or it's two sides of the coin. Men not really being held accountable for abusing women, whether it be physically, sexually, all the things. But then also I want to get into, and this is where we might shake some tables. There has been a backlash of the Me Too movement where I have physically and verbally heard and seen women weaponize the ability to accuse men of behaviors, whether they did it or not. And so I think there's also, with the Me Too movement, two things happening. We've now been educated on different terminology that we're still learning. And there's also a confusion of being uncomfortable and being harassed or assaulted. And so there's this really big blur. And I want to talk about your thoughts and views on now the verdict of the Diddy case. And then I also want to get into the Ben McLemore case.
Okay.
But we'll start with your thoughts on Diddy, and then I want to bring in the Ben McLemore case and what we think could have happened, should have happened, all the things.
At first, let me say, I didn't really think that Diddy was going to get found guilty on anything.
Okay.
So let me start there.
Okay.
So I was surprised they came back with something.
And that's because you see just that people aren't being charged with these type of crimes? The RICO was a lot, but I'm even talking about all the other stuff.
The RICO was a lot. I don't feel like the prosecution, I don't know, I feel like they were focusing a lot. And
they were focusing a lot on the sex.
Yeah, and the sex was not what we were here for.
Right.
So then when the jury started deliberated and they came back and said, "Oh, well, don't focus on these anymore. Let's focus on that." I was like, "Oh, he about to be home tomorrow." That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So when they came back, it was like, "Oh, he's guilty of, prostitution under the Man's Act." Okay, cool. So it's get like the crumbs. Like we'll take something, because typically when powerful men outside of Harvey Weinstein, because he's in prison, typically nothing happens, typically, or they'll get a slap on the wrist.
Now,
and this is a slap on the wrist still.
I want to ask your thoughts on Cassie's standpoint in the trial, as well as Jane Doe.
Okay.
Because I think what I saw in terms of the public outrage around their testimonies was the fine line between someone being a sexually liberated wild woman that's into certain sex acts, and then also being a victim.
Yeah, saw that too. So I think people don't understand that sometimes that power distorts consent, right? So someone who has more access, more money, more employment control, more fame, whatever, right? So yes, those people hold the power, and so I may be too scared to say no, because if I say no, there goes my career. If I say no, if you're a person who's paying my bills, there goes my bills. I mean, so yes, you could say no, and I could be homeless, not gonna have a job. That's always an option. True, yes, but they manipulate their power with the access they give you.
But there's the power of capitalism as a whole, right? So it's interesting, because I saw someone compare it, and it did make me think. So this is not my thought process, but I was like, ooh, it made me think, right? Say you have a job. Say you hate the treatment at your work. Say you show up to a boss that you don't like, but you show up every goddamn day to work.
I do.
Could you sue that company because now you're a victim of abuse? And so the parallel to Cassie showing up, if you're showing up for money, if you're showing up because you have alternative reasons as to why you're showing up, again, a career, and you're doing things you don't want to do, are you a victim if you are choosing to show up and continue to stay in that relationship? Are you a victim if you're choosing to continue to show up to a job that underpays you and doesn't treat you well? To a system, which would be the power, the job, being the company that now, and so when we get into these relationships, there's so many other dynamics where we're actually existing in those same power dynamics. And so, again, I think when you conflate all the things with the actual sex they were having, there was another struggle of power dynamics, but also as women, there's women that might want 3 at a time. There might be women that like induce taking the drugs before that. So to me, it blurred what consent looks like, because we read them say they loved him. They went back. And so I think that that's why both of their testimonies also didn't help to the public perceive them as victims.
Jane Doe, that's
the 50 cents baby mom who was getting the $10,000 a month. And that's another part of this where, unfortunately, if you take money, if you are a sex worker, you can never be a victim of a sexual crime, according to the internet, right? According to society. And so when we have these deeper conversations of what autonomy looks like, it's hard for me currently to be pro sex positive, pro sex work, and not understand the blurred lines of how we actually can protect ourselves if we are violated, because the world does not see those things as you being able to be a victim at all.
Because two things could be true at the same time. Yes, I was getting paid for a service, and yes, you still violated me.
How do you hold someone accountable when 2 things are true? Because I think that that's the problem, right? When we're talking about consent. And that's where I kind of want to get into the Ben McLemore case of it all. So Ben McLemore, former NBA player, he was recently found guilty of raping a 21-year-old woman. He was sentenced to 8 years in prison, approximately 100 months. She testified, and if you see, both of them testified to their own truths, right? Whatever it looked like. So she testified that she was passed out, woke up to him having sex with her. She woke up and he was gone. Mind you, there's videos of her throwing up. There's evidence that she had to be carried and put on this couch. His testimony is a little different. His testimony is that he also, this is where it gets, it's like, his testimony is that he fell asleep on the same couch because there was a party at his teammate's lake house. He fell asleep on the same couch and woke up to her rubbing on him. He ensued sex. When he was done, he left. So his testimony is that, well, she came on to me. It appeared to be consensual. The only thing that I did wrong was be a bad guy by not holding a conversation with her after. So then the conversation is also, is she mad that he didn't stay and treat her well after, or was she actually assaulted? Did she regret having sex with him because she was drunk? He also was drunk as well. And so, again, the blurred lines of...
And this is where the waters get muddy. Like, when I go to colleges and I talk to young boys, I say this. I'm like, if there has been some type of drinking involved, if there has been some type of drugs involved, don't have sex that night. Just don't. Because the waters get very muddy.
I just hate that that's the responsibility of the man. Because to be fair, I've had a lot of sex drunk to where I've had to deal with the reality that I don't remember what happened the night before. And it would be unfair to claim that said person raped me because I'm sure I was all here for it. And so I just hate that we're also in a place where we remove the accountability of women should not have sex either if they are drunk.
Right.
But we do.
One should be having sex when you're
and
drunk.
Unfortunately, though, a lot of women are given the courage and confidence to have sex when they're drunk. It allows them to feel free in the moment, which is unfortunate because then it leaves a lot of men in the fucked up position to be fully responsible as to whether they sexually assaulted or committed a crime in that instance.
That's what I'm going to say. Like, yes, the woman shouldn't have sex either, but the woman is also the person who's not going to go to prison if they say this was...
Well, neither. A lot of times, in this case, I brought it up because he actually did. But in a lot of cases...
Well, and there's a lot of cases of, and I'm not saying these people are innocent and guilty, but there's a lot of cases that are not celebrity cases. I've seen with men, like regular people out there, who are now sex offenders, who are now had to go behind bars for something that could have been not perceived that way. People who are statutory rapists because and this is a different topic, but I was 19 or I was 20 and the girl was 16 or whatever, 15, whatever the age is. And technically 19, 15, y'all still teenagers, technically. But like
tricky.
Yeah, but like
Tricky.
but I know people who have like now you have to register as a sex offender because I was 19 having sex with a 15-year-old, and I know I know that's wrong. I'm not saying that it's right, but 19 and 15 are not but 4 years age difference.
Yeah. I mean, I think age difference looks different depending on the ages too, right? And so where we're at now, I kind of want to get to the future of where we see us going, right? Because we had the Me Too movement, because now, unfortunately, there are women out here weaponizing the ability to charge and sue and go to court on these acts. Jason, you found some context from a UNLV legal scholar that says that there is now backlash from the Me Too movement. Do you want to like kind of give some context to that?
Yeah, I wanted to read this passage because it's talking about some of the things that you're both mentioning right now about like the blurred lines and the idea of things being tricky. And so this woman wrote this piece. She's a legal scholar, so it's set in law practices,
right?
So there's a lot of it's built around this idea that women are not getting opportunity because men will not mentor them, because men don't want to go to dinner with them or be in conference rooms with them alone, right? Because they're worried about
topic.
Right, so they're worried about things that may happen, right? And so she says, right, we cannot let the fears of the Me Too movement and false claims override the important findings of this report or lead to an entrenchment that would deprive female attorneys of rights, right? Like I said, this is about a legal study. But this is the part that I wanted to read that I think is applicable to this conversation. And so then she says, but what about the men's concerns that they'll be falsely accused of sexual harassment to the detriment of their reputations? Are these concerns simply a backlash, a power play, or are the men's concerns legitimate? That men may have the opportunity to avoid working with female lawyers without harming their own trajectories demonstrates that men, not their female counterparts, still have significantly more power than the women have. But nonetheless, it appears that these men do not feel powerful because of popular perceptions. Many are concerned that they will be falsely accused, but the evidence of false accusations is sparse, and the rate of false accusations versus the sexual misconduct women bear make the hold on, not that part. So here's the part I want to hear. Men who fear false reports may be reacting to a confusion concerning what is actually sexual harassment. So that's the part I wanted to end on.
So story time, and this is public knowledge.
Okay.
And this was a conversation and going back to Black women and the conversation around it. So in 2020, I signed to the Joe Budden Network.
Okay.
It was me and two other co-hosts, right? 17 episodes in, from a conversation that happened on mic, she claimed sexual harassment in the workplace. Now, clearly, it's tough to distinguish that in a podcast setting on a mic where we don't have HR, all the things. You know what I mean? So we go down essentially a huge rabbit hole during this because me and the other co-host chose to stay on the network. And so there became a huge isolation and attack from Black women for us choosing to stay on that network. And at the time, it was about growing this brand. That was my IP, which is why I was able to walk away with it when we left the network. Like, there was a lot of power in what I was creating, and I enjoyed what I was creating. And so, and also I was present during the interaction and had different thoughts on what happened. Because again, blurred lines of what constitutes sexual harassment and what may not. But I'm not here to tell anyone how they feel is right or wrong either. So I didn't really pick sides. I just chose to, okay, you're gone. I'm going to stay here. And the conversation after that was, how the fuck and why the fuck would I stay? And I said, well, what do you want me to do? Because at the time as well, some past clip from Brilliant Idiots went viral about Charlemagne. I'm on the Black Effect Network. There was something around joking with Spanish Fly. And again, times, you know what I mean? We can talk about, we can do that all day. And so I was literally having this not only internal battle, but outternal conversations. And outternal may not be a word, but stick with me here.
External.
Whatever. bitch, our turtle
We
was
know what
crazy.
you're talking about.
You know what I mean? But the conversation was, well, then what am I supposed to do in these work environments if at any given point a man may have made a woman feel uncomfortable? A man may have done something. And do you know what the number one response was from women, both black and white?
Quit. Step away.
Well, why do you have to work with men? The conversation literally was that. It wasn't giving any forgiveness, any grace, any ability to see a man as anything but a monster who would eventually perpetrate or violate another woman. It was just like, there's a lot of woman-owned companies out there. You're a woman, start your own network. And the conversation was, you don't need to work with men. And I literally could not see how that was the logical response. And so when articles like this are now being written, when I'm having conversations with friends, or when a nigga like Rick Ross is going on the radio admitting to not wanting to have female artists under his label because he might want to fuck them and he doesn't want to blur the lines, when we have people like Joy Taylor expressing that, yeah, I had relations with niggas in my company and now there's a whole lawsuit around it. Unfortunately, the answer is not that men and women cannot coexist in a work environment. It's just not. But I don't blame men right now for fearing
I don't either.
that at all.
I don't either.
You don't either.
Like
what would have been if we were speaking at that moment and you were not in your head, so I'm sure it came across your timeline of all the things that happened.
I remember.
What would have been your advice to me or any woman that may or may not have been going through the same thing in that present time? How do you answer what should have been done?
Unfortunately, probably at that time, I probably would have been like, "Oh, why are you there too?"
Okay.
But since then, this is why I think women should have platonic male friends.
Okay.
So I have a lot of platonic male friends.
Okay.
Now, right? Where I'm able to hear men's opinions. Because if you just surround yourself with women all the time, you hear pretty much the same.
It's an echo chamber, child.
Yeah, the same talking points, pretty much. And then you started.
Unless you're friends with a bitch like me who thinks outside of the box.
and most people don't. It's group thing, right? And so then you're gonna start to think, oh, this is right. 'Cause this is what I hear all the time. Oh, this is right. This is what being repeated to me in my circles. But it's not until you talk to other people who are different from you, culturally, gender, religion, all the things, that you learn, oh, okay, maybe my way of thinking is skewed, right? And so by having male friends, like real platonic male friends who are smarter than me, some had different experiences than me, some who are married, some who are single, I'm learning like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Maybe, how I think is not the only way to think. And there are other options.
And I think it does nothing but limit our ability to be in safe spaces if we're not allowing ourselves to view men that can change, that can learn. So the same way, right? I recently shared a story about being stealthed. When it happened, there wasn't even a word for it. When I learned the word, I was like, oh shit, this is happening. These conversations are now being had to where men can understand that what they were doing was a violation. And so if we're learning about our own traumas and instances through educating by language being broader and us having more platforms to have these conversations, there has to be an allowance for men to do the same.
Correct.
Consent is another word that we are all still trying to fucking figure out, which is crazy.
It's changed in the last 20 years.
It has literally changed. And I want to add some of the things just so that you guys are familiar. And Jason, if you could look these up real quick, because you're a journalist and I want to get the dates right. I recently saw this woman talking to Candace Owens. Do you know that there was just a law that was passed in 1993 that it was actually a crime and illegal to beat your wife? That may sound crazy, but if y'all know a little further back, there used to be a law that said you couldn't rape your wife. That is an actual thing. They used to claim that if you were in a committed marriage, that the man could not have at all any ability to sexually assault his wife. And so there was no way for even wives at the time to I see you over there looking. Did you get the...
Yeah, so the rape one, in all 50 states, it was decriminalized July 5th, 1993.
Nigga.
Prior to that, different states had
prior to that.
exemptions.
We were still born. We
I
were
was
still
elementary school.
born. We were born during a time where you could not be criminalized
For raping
raping or beating your goddamn wife.
Yeah. And that same act was Violence Against Women Act. That same one had the domestic violence. where it was illegal.
93.
It became illegal in all 50 states.
I was in third
by
grade.
1993.
93. I mean, I was 2 or 3, but we were born at a time where that wasn't a crime.
Right.
And so when we're talking about being millennials in the space of women finally gaining power, baby, we're not talking about voting rights anymore.
No.
We're literally talking about the rights to even be able to express and tell and have any viable like way to receive justice because I'm saying that this happened. And so the conversation about, well, why did it take so long for you to come out? And why didn't you say something earlier? And why are you just now? It's like, bro, do y'all not see that there's literal laws that there were certain states that a woman could not even speak up for it. And so again, back to being sexually liberated, it's almost frustrating to me that women don't see how it could be empowering. And as men, if you have a mom, a sister, a daughter, how you don't want a woman to be able to have a voice to speak out about her mistreatment.
Yeah. Back to black women being my biggest haters. Right. We say we don't see it. Women don't really see sexual liberation as a thing that should be talked about. Not openly. I feel as a whole in general.
How do we learn if we're not speaking about it openly?
They want you to learn, with your friends, quietly in the corner.
They want you to learn with the men that also don't want you to be sexually liberated. So how are you supposed to get to that place?
But I don't know. I don't even have.
We don't have the answer. We both don't have the answer.
But like I will say this though, like in just my my life in my career, like I don't consider myself a sex educator. Right? This is not what
okay.
I am a. I don't know. I write about sex. I talk about it. Whatever you want to call that.
Oh yeah, I don't like the sexpert title. I don't want that because even with the book, right? With my experience, it's a lived experience. But I'm no expert.
Right.
And every chapter that I wrote is still continuing.
Yeah.
Nothing is, even though each chapter ended with a period, it ain't period.
Right.
Like I'm still navigating all of those different things within my life. So I'm no expert on it. And what's crazy is in terms of sex, because it's so nuanced, because it's ever changing, even within the laws, I don't think anyone is really an expert at it.
No.
There's not a real blueprint to how to navigate any one particular life. Right. What makes me come don't make you come.
Right.
Period.
It's different. And like, I just put the term sex work because I had to put something. Cause it's not
I like sexual health. It's still adding the expert word.
I had to put something.
Okay.
To like, oh, cool. That's why it's there. But I will say, like in terms of like black women, so there are a lot of, and I had this conversation with somebody else who is a she's a sex educator expert of sorts.
Okay.
And she was like, she went to a conference, a very well-known conference for sex therapists and educators and all that stuff. And she was like, she doesn't really feel, what's the word I'm looking for? She doesn't feel
seen.
Not seen. She doesn't feel like she belongs.
Why?
Because and this is the black woman, and she said because other black women feel like because they're more educated than her. Like, oh, because I have a PhD, or because I am a therapist and I have my own practice, or because I've been doing this for 20 years. Because she got her certificate from like a certification program for something, which still it teaches you basics. It teaches you about sexual health, teaches you about sex anatomy and all that stuff. So she is educated, but because it didn't come from a school or because you have a PhD, they feel like
I had the conversation with Shambuti. A part of her going to get her license and a part of her even getting married. She said, how am I out here giving relationship advice and I'm not married? Yeah. And so a part of her going to school and doing those things is to be seen as a professional, which is why Weezy and I try to I'm not going to put an expert on me, but the fact that I feel like I've done just as much help to the community in educating and giving people power than anybody with a goddamn PhD.
Yeah. And Shan and I had a conversation before too, because she was like, I was on her podcast 2-3 years ago, and we were talking about, and she was in the process of getting her stuff, and she explained why she was doing it, and I was like, maybe I'll do it. I'm not, but after thinking about it, but I get it. People feel like because and the people are Black women feel like, oh, I know for me, when I first came onto the scene, people felt like, what you mean? How are you getting more followers than me? How are you getting different gigs than me? How are you writing for this magazine? How are you doing that? And
comparison is the thief of joy. Mind your goddamn business.
Right. How are you doing this? How are you doing that? And how come I'm not doing this? I've been out here longer. I have the degrees, and she is just someone who they feel like just started yesterday. And
I think for me, being someone who lives in empowering others, it's been unfortunate to feel so unempowered. I was having a conversation with Candy at Essence as well, and I was just telling her, like, I feel like I'm wearing the scarlet letter because, like, we did a rebrand, and now brands are still like, you know, even though you're a New York Times bestseller, your book got the word sex in it. Sexual exploration is, you know, to have to exist with the scarlet letter for wanting to lead an empowered movement. It was crazy because she has Grammys, she has all these things, and she was like, oh, girl, as soon as I had Candy Coated, you know, the bedroom stuff, and she was like, you know, she toured the dungeon. Those things we couldn't even talk about with her because it's sex related. And she was like, oh, girl, not until I started doing the Broadway am I even now being invited to certain, she was like, NAACP wasn't trying to see a bitch for being sexually liberated. And I'm like, this is so much a part of our history because we weren't allowed to be, because we were used for our bodies, because even as Black men, they were seen as bulls essentially, or they were seen superior because of what they had between their legs. Everything about our entire existence has been sexualized. And in 2025, it's something that we have to hide from. It's something that we can't like stand on. And it's so stressful. It is. And uninspiring and unempowering and draining to feel like the work we're doing 8 years in, baby, I'm just gonna have to continue wearing the scarlet letter because
that's what I'm doing. I've just like, okay, this is my lot in life. I've come to accept it. I don't, even with like people who have, like, if you ever go onto my Instagram, like I don't sell any toys on there. I don't talk about sex toys because Instagram will take it down. You can't even have a website that has toys and have like a payment processing system because they take it off.
Wow.
They equate it to like prostitution. And so it's just one hurdle after another hurdle after another hurdle. So because I had some young lady reach out to me. She was like, well, how what are your tips? Because I'm trying this and keep getting blocked, and I'm keep getting blocked. And I was like, I don't really have no tips. Like, you just have to keep trying because it happens to everybody.
It's just frustrating. In the news, though, I want to get into the last segment because we talked about a little bit of the future. We talked about how we've existed as essentially millennials and being born during the times where certain laws even still existed. But Gen Z, they're saying, are having less sex.
I can see that.
But yet Gen Z are also open to more non-traditional ways of having relationships as well. So when we think of this younger generation coming up, do you think it's going to be a more healthy sexual exploration experience?
I do.
Or do you feel like they're going to reach a lot of the same kind of obstacles and hurdles that we've had to overcome?
No, I think it'll be a lot healthier because they are all also already very open of different sexuality, different gender identities. You know, they are so open into doing all the things, and they're not shame about. There's no shame with them. Like my generation, I say my generation is the first generation that talk about sucking dick out loud.
And period.
You know, right?
No, for sure.
Yeah. Before
millennials were the first to say we love sucking dick.
Yeah. Our mothers. No, I don't even know if my mother even had dick in her mouth. Right?
She did,
but she had to talk about
it. But you never heard her say.
Never heard her say. Okay. Right? Never had her even mention word penis mouth together in a sentence. So like so like this next generation, they are open to trying all the things that, like, our generation, we label everything as gay. In our generation, everything's gay. I'm like, it's not gay.
It's not.
But their generation, if it's gay or not, they don't even care.
They don't care. The labels are being removed.
Labels.
I want to read something from the New Yorker, and it may actually be why.
Okay.
So, if you think about what you just said, you didn't even know your mom was having sex, right?
No.
So you know the idea of if someone tells you not to touch the red button, what do you want to do? Touch the red button. So they're saying, and this is per the New Yorker, that casual sex can be arranged as efficiently as a burrito delivery from DoorDash. And so because it comes across as something that's more accessible, that's more not only accessible, but acceptable, casual sex, finding partners online, all the things, it's so easy and free at us.
Okay.
It's there.
Okay, when I need it.
You don't need, you know what I mean? As for us, there was almost this thing of being secretive, of doing something that you didn't want people to find out about. The same maybe excitement that men get from cheating. I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like there was excitement about finally being able to do something that they said was so terrible.
Right.
And for Gen Z, we're now speaking about pleasure in a way that it's like, okay, I can have it and enjoy it. Kind of like an espresso martini. I'll have it when I want it. Right. Don't need it when I don't, you know?
So that means we're doing our jobs. And
I feel like we're I think we're helping them a little bit. Jason, from these articles, I know that there was quite a few about why Gen Z were having less sex. Did you see any other dynamic that made it to why they weren't having so much?
There was a lot that was saying they're better at setting healthy boundaries. that came up in a lot of the articles.
That's true. Well, we weren't taught how to do it. Yeah, because we ain't had podcasts like mine to listen to.
No, all we had was our parents.
And they didn't talk to us about sex.
And we saw their fucked up relationship. And we like, okay. Like we.
And then sex ed in high school just said, don't have sex or you're going to get pregnant or die.
Yeah, that's
like it was one or the other. And so there was never conversation around pleasure. There was never conversation with women about how to say no because we didn't want to. Like those weren't being had. So then in terms of the revolution of sexual liberation, I want to ask you, Ashley, before we get out of here, are we heading in a direction that we may actually be able to celebrate sexual liberation, or do you feel like we'll always be under the guise of the patriarchy as women first and then black women second? Because I think there is a difference between the two. In our lifetime, at least.
Okay, so the hopeful version of me, the hopeful version says that yes, but I don't know if it'll be our lifetime. I think it might be like our children, grandchildren, because our kids they're already kind of there.
I think it's going to take a while.
It's going to take a while. It's going to take 50 years, maybe.
You think another 50 years
maybe
before
20.
a woman's sexual liberation doesn't keep her from having to wear a scarlet letter?
Yes, I think the kids, like the high school kids, college kids, they're going to have to be like...
And then their kids will...
Yeah. I think they're already leading and starting.
Okay.
And so once they get grown, like 30, then I think by that time I'll be 70. So, So
then maybe in our lifetime.
So maybe in our lifetime.
Do you agree, Jason? I know A King is over there too, but do y'all believe that you will in your lives be able to see women be celebrated for their sexual exploration? And I only ask y'all that too because as hip hop heads, we saw the women of hip hop kind of be torn down and almost tried to be erased for their celebration of sexual liberation, which looked like removing the male gaze. It was the empowerment of us. The music was for us. And I think from an even musical standpoint, that has been removed because the feedback from it was like, well, what are y'all teaching the youth? This ain't liberating. This is ruining our community. I want to ask y'all's thoughts on women being able to express themselves and actually be celebrated.
Yeah, King, you gonna go, King, or I'll go, or
I'll say, I don't think so. I think it's gonna not.
You don't think what?
I don't think that women will be celebrated universally.
I agree.
think in communities.
Well, no. First off, we know the Middle East over there ain't having none of this shit. They can only show their eyes.
Well,
right.
over
so
on this
we
side,
talking about us
over here,
the U.S. of A.
No. We got a lot. We had a lot of work to do, and now we got a lot of more work to do.
You feel like
you
feel like we made work
pockets. Yes, I think
we got pushed back.
Pockets, but it's all about continuum, right? This is why things that you say, things that other women say, things that Ashley says, right? Hopefully 5 years, 10 years, when the ones behind you, get this content, this audio, and they're able to listen and unpack and kind of dig into the philosophies of it. Maybe that they can continue the narrative, so to speak. So I don't know. I'm not confident that overall. No, I think that in certain areas of in our culture and community, yes, you'll get that.
I agree with you, especially just, again, we talk about the outrage and the response from a lot of people. And for me, the work has to be done because men, the ones probably in their mom's basements using the Wi-Fi that they don't pay for, when they get into the comment sections of things, when they spew their hate and negativity towards women owning their own autonomy, that's where I see so much work having to be done. Because outside of the actual people with platforms, the people consuming the content are loud on the internet about being upset about us speaking out for ourselves, showing people that there's another way to receive pleasure. And so I am with you. Like, I don't think it's going to happen.
I will say, I think, like, for, like, the Black community, though, like, I feel like we have a very, 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 very long way to go.
Oh, girl, moving to Atlanta?
Yeah.
We're probably, what wasn't I just telling you? Probably 10, 15 years behind New York.
Yeah.
Like the conservative nature of what you were saying, I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. I thought I was going to come down here and there was going to be even more Black swingers groups and Black sex clubs. And I was like, oh, baby, it's so small down here. And I was just like, oh, wow, you're right. As a community, it's going to take us even further, which is why the Black women voices right now seem so loud in not supporting this movement of liberation for us. Jason, I wanted you to get your thoughts into.
Yeah, I was going to say, from that same study that I read earlier, she ended it by saying men must respond not only by being not sexist or not harassers, they should be, capital letters, anti-sexist. And that's obviously like a big
Ashley's
shift. Yeah, it's just such a huge shift in behavior. Because I wrote down what Ashley said earlier because it was funny and I thought it should be on a T-shirt, but it's true. It's like, I get how men think, but it's very stupid. And if you ask me, like, will that happen in my lifetime? By the end of my lifetime, probably. Like not anytime soon. I think it's gonna be like by the end of my lifetime.
I'm 95.
Yeah, like when I'm 95, it'll be like, finally.
That's right.
Then I die. But I just think that to your point, like y'all been saying, like, women are your biggest haters or whatever, but like men just have so much shit that they have to unpack.
So much.
Like this weird, the weird like Puritan bag that they always like go into, where it's like, they want to shame women for stuff, but they go and do the same exact thing that's a badge of honor. Like, until that.
Well, yeah, because men are wired different, and men are hunters, and men all the excuses around why men can behave in certain ways.
And the big wide patriarchy thing that you say, it's like, it's so societal, and like to unlock all that and to reverse all that, like that's like generational work.
What would you want to say to Black women who go against the work that you and I are currently doing? What would be your thoughts to them if they are listening, if they are women who don't believe that we should be platforming conversations around hoeing and telling women to hoe longer and save marriage for later, specifically the Black women listening who may not be aligned with our messaging? What would be your message to them?
I think they are against us out of fear.
Okay.
Like, it's okay, sis. I don't want your man, right? Like, I feel like it's fear-based. Because what you mean, you're telling my daughters, or you're telling people to go out here and have all this sex, and then then that means that maybe they feel like their sex is not going to be good enough, and then maybe your husband is going to leave you for a bitch who can fuck his dick better. I don't know, but I feel like I really do feel like it is based in fear. For a lot of people.
Okay.
and there's no need to be, sis. Like you can.
There's no need to be scared.
There's no need to be. Like the same way I feel that same way about people who also shame people for having open relationships, and that's fear based. Like people are like, well, why do I want to do? Why do that? Just be single. That's crazy. It's fear based.
It's fear based.
Yeah, I think it's fear based. So my thought would be to just broaden your horizons. Get talk to people. Get education from. Talk to people who are outside of your circle.
I agree.
Friends.
Or listen to podcasts like this.
Yes.
Or Sex with Ashley.
Yeah.
Or Decisions.
Or something. Yes. Like you have to be able to talk to people who don't have the same beliefs to you to have a deeper understanding of why people are the way they are.
Absolutely. And that's what this goddamn podcast is about. Ashley, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you guys really took in this conversation and you take it to the group chat, you take it online, and you really, again, push yourself to listen to more conversations to understand the nuance, because nuance exists. Again, there's two truths. Mm-hmm. And to just open your ears to understanding more. This is Selective Ignorance, where curiosity lives, controversy thrives, and conversations matter. See y'all next week.